I'd say the biggest strength is general state aid. That's education for districts that don't have the property taxes to fund education, and make sure we meet the needs of low-income districts, both downstate and upstate, and throughout Illinois.
Do you have a rough percentage on that, or dollar figure?
Yeah, I'd say about 151 million is general state aid of the 430. The total amount in education was about 212, so it's about half. I mean, it's very consistent with what we've talked about before. MAP grants, as I indicated in committee, we're making sure we have funds available for people, students who can go to school. That money's already been committed to them. They've already received letters. Also, the money that we put back in Department of Children and Family Services, this is very essential. We cannot afford to not move on this. I'd be very problematic in the court system. So we want to make sure we have those funds available for the kids who are the least fortunate in the state of Illinois. We also looked at other areas within DHS, in particularly areas for people who are homeless, transitional housing for families, child care assistance for people who are working and need assistance in taking care of their kids. If you go through the budget, if you go through that items and what we added, I mean, I know it was presented here. This is still, in addition to the over $1 billion cut, this is an additional $700 million cut when you look at it. So we're probably cutting close to $2 billion from the governor's introduced budget. But we're putting items back in that are truly essential, whether it be services for people who are homeless, education services, higher education. They talked about there. On the floor, the higher education is going to be basically not getting as much of a cut as it was before. So there's a whole host of things if you look at the items within the budget.
And the House Dems are on board with this or not?
Up to them. I think they're going to take a look at it. And I think it's, to be quite honest with you, if you talk to the people on the House side, they want to see more money put back in for education. This $151 million cut is dramatic and drastic, and it hurts people downstate in low-income communities and the collar counties, and also in the city of Chicago. It'd be devastating. So I think they'll be open to it. I mean, ultimately, what we're going to have is we're going to have a balanced budget. It's going to be fiscally stable, but it's also going to take care of core services, human services, education, people who are homeless. The fact is, we've done that. I expect us to have hopefully a very positive reception over there.
As long as we're not addressing that backlog of bills in a timely fashion, though, can you call this a balanced budget?
Well, I think based on what we've presented before, we start with revenue. We started with our revenue, our available revenues, and then we deducted our fixed costs, and with our remaining revenue, we allocated towards our programs. So it's getting us on the road to fiscal health and stability. It's the first time we've done this in probably 25 years here. Sure, we have bills that we have to pay that are still out there, but this allows us to look at the amount of money that we have to spend and allocating to our existing programs.
Does this bump up against the House spending caps?
No, it does not. In fact, keep in mind here, when you look at this, the number, the cap, I believe, was 36.9, right, for this year. 33.1, you had 430, it's really 33.5. Governor's introduced was 35.9. So look at the dramatic differential between the two, the amount of cost savings, the amount of cuts and reductions while taking care of these core services.
Do you think anyone's going to cry foul about you connecting this to the capital bill spending?
No, I think, look, we have equal concerns. I mean, like I told you, we have concerns on our front. I think there's people on the other side hopefully who willingly embrace this. I mean, here's the challenge we have to save on. Capital is just as important is addressing fundamental needs of people when it comes to education and healthcare and human services. It's just as important. What's the point of building a building if people can't go in there and get education? I mean, there is no point. I mean, so if you're making these drastic cuts and you're building edifices and things like that, you need to make sure you're able to provide these essential services to people.
This may be kind of an odd question, but will the worst case have any effect on this being tied? I know this bill isn't part of that, but tying this to capital, does that mean that decision can all affect our budget?
No, this is a reappropriation. This is a reappropriation. I think whatever kind of court case exists in the future, reappropriate what we appropriated for. The question is, there's a difference between a reappropriate and the funding source. The question is, what would the funding source be?
Does
that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all GRF?
This is all GRF right here.